Welcome to The Bootloader. I'm Paul Cutler.
And I'm Todd Kurt, and this is episode 4. The show works like this. Paul and I each have brought 3 things to share with you. We'll spend a few minutes talking about each, but no more than 5. If you want to learn more, we have detailed show notes available at thebootloader.net. And give us a follow on Twitter at thebootloader. So Paul, why don't you start us off this week?
So the big one is probably the macOS Ventura was recently released. Got a couple new features, a couple cool ones like continuity camera, but you can't use Finder to drag and drop UF2 and hex files anymore. Gives you a nice little error every time you try. Now, Adafruit and Raspberry Pi both have excellent blog posts on it, so I'm not going to spend any time going through the technical how. I also would recommend watching the November 2nd Ask an Engineer with Lady Ada, where she actually goes and does a great overview of how this happens. But there's 2 workarounds for now. One, you can drop down to a terminal and use the copy command. The other one that I don't think has got a lot of news is that Alistair Allen, the author of the Raspberry Pi blog post that I mentioned, posted a macOS shortcut you can use. So download and install the shortcut. You have to enable a shortcut setting for shell scripts, but it's just 2 clicks. And then when you download a UF2 file, now when you right-click it, hover over Quick Actions, and transfer to RPI is right there. So you don't have to drop down to a terminal. So it makes it really almost similar enough if you're not comfortable at the terminal that this will work out. But the biggest thing you can do is, if you're a macOS user, is help file a bug report with Apple. Again, read the Raspberry Pi blog post. It has detailed instructions on how to submit feedback to Apple. And the more people that speak up, the faster this will probably get fixed.
Yeah, I can't stress that enough. But like, Apple's issue tracking system is very complete, but we see none of it. Like, all we see is that there used to be this thing called Radar. Now there's this thing called Feedback Assistant, and it's got a nice little like combo sort of decision tree where you just say what you're having problems with, and you say Finder, and you say what you're having, and then it'll give you a little feedback number. But you should also, in your text, reference the feedbacks that have been done by the Raspberry Pi Foundation and Adafruit, because then they can all tie them all together, and they can then get a sum up of like, oh, turns out a lot of people care about this one feedback issue. And there's been evidence that this works. Like, we don't get to see the internals the way we do with like a GitHub project. It's been known that like it does help if people speak up.
Data-driven decisions, the more data they have, the faster they'll make the decision.
Totally that.
What's the first item that you have for us this week?
I want to talk about Matter. What's the Matter? All right, so Matter is a new protocol for doing home automation, Internet of Things type stuff. It's an open standard that's been happening for been in process for a while, for about maybe 3 years or so. It actually is sort of an outgrowth of the Zigbee Alliance, which was a commercial group to sort of promote Zigbee, which is a BLE-like Wi-Fi protocol that happened like about 20 years ago and was a competitor of Bluetooth, but really was supplanted by Bluetooth Low Energy. Like, they took a lot of the ideas of Zigbee and put them into BLE. And so that's why we've now got these really great low power devices that work really easily compared to old Bluetooth, which was kind of a pain to get kind of connected up. But the cool thing about Matter is that it's IP based. So everything's got an IP address, but it's also mesh networking. There doesn't have to be like a single router. If you've got a bunch of different Matter devices in your house and they all can see the net, but if one of them kind of goes away for some reason, like maybe it gets unplugged or something, that won't take down your whole home automation system. The devices can then route through one of the other Matter gateways. Matter works with either Wi-Fi or works with this new protocol called Thread, which is sort of a really low-level BLE-like protocol that is explicitly mesh networked and federated and stuff. But the examples I've seen, there are some examples you can play with right now on ESP32. Those are ones I've only seen that do Wi-Fi. But in the coming months, you'll see more stuff that actually has these Thread radios in them. A lot of stuff have been shipping Thread radios kind of under the covers for the last year or two, and so they'll be able to enable a Matter support really easily. I'll put a link in the show notes about like what existing things that the Thread group has that says like these are officially Thread-based thingies. The reason why I have noticed this is, well, first, the Matter standard just got like ratified, officially released like just a few days ago. Also, there's this cool YouTuber named That Project. That's his channel name. His name is Eric. He posted on the ESP32 subreddit that, hey, look, if you just compile one of these ESP32 examples from the Matter GitHub repo and run it on your ESP dev board, iOS 16.1 just sees it as a HomeKit device, and you can just start controlling it. So his example was a lamp, a little RGB lamp. And that's pretty great that like not only are they talking the talk of an open standard, they've got a GitHub with working examples on existing dev boards that are like really cheap. You just compile them and run them right now. And Android also is having Thread and Matter support, and I think that's all turned on, but I don't really know Android that much, so I don't know what the details are. What I'm really excited by is this whole inherently federated or multi-admin control that they call it in Matter, where there isn't a single router. Because one of the things in the home automation stuff now is you have to buy a special border gateway that will talk Zigbee or whatever on one side, and then we'll talk to the internet on the other side. And if that goes down, then none of your light switches work. Or the other problem is I've got these Alexa products and I've got these HomeKit products, and I either control them with one or the other, and Matter will let you control them with either. So you can buy a HomeKit dealie and have it work with your Alexa products. You can buy an Alexa thing and have it work with your HomeKit products. It doesn't matter. So I'm really excited by this, even though I don't do home automation stuff, because I don't know, most of it's a little overkill for for my thinking. Like this kind of stuff where it's like open and cross company, I think is the way it should be. And so I'm glad to see it going that way.
I agree. And there's some big names. I mean, we're talking Google and Apple and Microsoft.
Yeah.
It's everyone that needs to be in this is finally in this.
Yeah, it's not just like random little companies. It's big companies.
Yep. And if you're into Home Assistant, which I use, I only have 3 or 4 integrations. I don't have a smart home at all, but Home Assistant is both Matter and Thread ready right now. They're just waiting for the devices. So if you think about how many, hundreds of thousands of installations they have.
Yeah. I've been meaning to play with Home Assistant because it looks really powerful and it plugs into all the HomeKit stuff.
The new Apple TV that just launched this week is launching with Matter support as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. See, so yeah, everything's coming up Matter. All right. So what's your number 2 thing this week?
Number 2 is 3D printing for a good cause. And I have 2 examples that are out there that came across my desk. The first one is 3D printing for mental health and suicide prevention. This idea was started by a teacher, Abby Brown, at Torrey Pines High School in San Diego. Each year, the school has a yellow ribbon week where the students learn about crisis resources and risk factors for suicide. She designed the keychains to give away to her students at the end of the week as a special way to end Yellow Ribbon Week. Each keychain contains a word such as smile, inspire, create, with about 10 different words. But what's cool is there's a fundraising campaign that goes along with it. She posted the designs to Cults 3D, and if you print one and tag her on Instagram or on Twitter, she and a number of other organizations, including Joel Telling, Printed Solid, Alien 3D, and more, will donate $2 up to over $4,000 for the campaign. So you can get a cool, inspiring keychain and, help money for a great cause.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. The second one is 3D printed Toys for Tots. So most people have probably heard of Toys for Tots. My family actually has volunteered the last few years. It's a great organization. But this one was organized by a company called IC3D in 2018. And they work with volunteers in the 3D printing community to print toys for kids. Last year in 2021, they printed over 69,000 toys. This year, they have over 140 volunteers and have printed 27,000 toys so far. Unfortunately, signups are closed for this year because I looked to go sign up for that. But you can donate financially or sign up for next year. And the toys are pretty cool. There's an articulated alligator, there's a train engine, there's cars, there's low poly dinosaurs. And similar to MakerDeck that I mentioned in the last episode, they have a Twitch TV channel where you can watch the 3D printers whirring away printing the Toys for Tots.
That's wonderful.
It is.
This is so great because a friend of mine who's got a couple of kids of the 5 to 9 year old age, he got one of these really cheap $200 monoprice printers, and then just gave the kids the URL to Thingiverse or Printables or whatever, and said, hey, find things you want to print. And they just had fun just going oh, let's print out an alligator, or let's print out this bracelet. And he just would set it up and go, and they would have fun watching it. They would then have fun playing with the thing when it was done. But a lot of toys with kids have a sort of a limited life cycle. Even if the toy stays together, it kind of fades from the interest. And so he's like, okay, well, I guess I can print something else. Each one takes maybe an hour, whatever.
Right.
Only a couple grams of plastic.
Exactly. It costs pennies on the dollar compared to normal toys.
Yeah, so that's awesome. I like seeing the idea spread out to a larger community who don't, just because not everyone has a 3D printer.
Exactly, but it's cool to see the people that do actually using it for a great cause. What's your next one?
All right. So, have you ever taken a camcorder and pointed it at the TV that is showing the image from the camera and get
I
that
have.
weird video feedback? Yeah. Looked at these like trippy algorithmic screensavers that maybe like sync to music or whatever. If you wanted to do something like this yourself, how would you do it? Right. You could get a camera and monitor, or you can get a video synthesizer. This is a thing that exists, it's been around forever. Pretty much ever since cameras existed, the video synthesizers have existed. So I was at Synthplex last weekend. It's this sort of synthesizer convention, but there were a few non-audio synthesizers there. One of which really intrigued me was called Hypno by Sleepy Circuits. And physically, it's a small box with knobs, sliders, buttons, and an HDMI port. And it's got a bunch of little jacks for like plugging cables into, like you would a normal synthesizer. And so the sort of user interface of it is you look at the screen, it's got like weird triangles or squares or whatever, and as you turn the knobs and slide the sliders, those shapes will morph and feedback and transform. Those are just two of the video oscillators you can give it. You can also give it a live camera feed, you can give it video files, and then those become the oscillators that you then tweak and feedback sort of in the box itself without having to have a camera pointed at a monitor. That in itself is pretty cool. That it's just like this appliance you just plug a HDMI cable into and then start tweaking knobs, and you get crazy trippy visuals that you can then fully control. But it's a Raspberry Pi based thing, which I thought was really interesting. It's also got Eurorack compatible jacks on it, so you can just plug in cables to your little synthesizer and then have the visuals sync to the music in ways that they're more interesting than just the standard like audio boom boom boom. This has been developed by this guy since like 2019 or so. There's an active forum. There's lots of documentation. It's not fully open source, it doesn't look like, but it's a Raspberry Pi. So it's, I don't know, it seems like a nice hacker level tool. There's a bunch of examples of it on his Instagram page or on the product's Instagram page. I'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. And it's just a lot of fun. It seems like a pretty pro level product. Like even though it's a Raspberry Pi, you treat it as an appliance. You don't like, you don't have to ever log into it with SSH or whatever. You just like turn it on, plug it in, and start tweaking stuff. And it's a lot of fun.
So you literally just take it, plug the HDMI source into a monitor or a TV, and start tweaking the dials from there.
Exactly. And if you want to have it as part of your live streaming setup, it also outputs NDI over USB. So you can treat it as a camera source in OBS or any of your other sort of streaming setups. So you can just have it like, chroma key in, like you feed it a camera and it chroma keys that and feeds it ball back and then feeds it. And then you ship that back to your streaming setup. And so you can get totally crazy with it if you want.
Well, that's great. And it's offloading the processing power to the Pi. So your computer that's using OBS is running just fine. That's
exactly.
So smart.
It's just seeing another camera source. So how about you? What's your third thing for this week?
My last one is I came across an article on Hackster.io, and it's called Rodeo launches the Open Colorimeter, a CircuitPython analysis tool for citizen science. It's a mouthful, but what grabbed my attention was CircuitPython, being a member of the CircuitPython community. And I actually read through the article and didn't understand most of the science behind it. It's been way too many years since I was in school, but here's how Rodeo describes it. The Open Colorimeter is an instrument with many applications, including measuring contaminants and pollutants in soil and water. So that sounds pretty cool. It's actually an Adafruit Pi badge with a 3D printed case. And I think it's pronounced a cuvette, where you add the soil or the liquid that you're measuring. But the other thing that's cool is this is all open. It's published under an open license for the firmware's under MIT and the physical designs under a Creative Commons 4.0 license. And they have excellent documentation with product guides and project tutorials. The first that I came across for tutorials were to use the colorimeter to measure the blue dye in sports drinks. I'm like, what a great experiment. So you read through that, and again, I couldn't keep up with all of the science, but it walks you exactly how to use the colorimeter to do that. And their mission is to increase accessibility to scientific data collection tools by creating low-cost open hardware instrumentation. Everything's open on their GitHub repository, which is pretty cool. But really what caught my eye was that CircuitPython. I expect to see MicroPython in commercial applications. I'm always surprised and delighted when I find out that there's CircuitPython ones out there too.
Totally. Yeah, I actually ran into the Rodeo people about 10 years ago. They've been around for a long time doing this sort of always open, low cost scientific tools for kind of for education, but they've figured out ways to take, you know, Arduino class hardware and make it actually produce usable scientific results. So it's like, oh, here's this thing you can teach in your high school class to your chemistry students, but you're actually getting real data out that's, comparative to other stuff. I love that it's all using like just the boards we have kind of sitting around on our desk. And like their cleverness is like the way that they've got the system set up to observe the substances being colorimeterized.
Right. Well, I didn't know they had been around for a decade. That's great, especially for having an open company like that
Yeah,
with that kind of longevity. That's great to see.
yeah, they're awesome.
And what's your last one for us this episode?
All right, so this is kind of nerdy. I mean, this whole podcast is kind of nerdy,
That's
but
the goal.
all right. So there's this tool called ffmpeg that I've used forever. It's a command line tool, and at the least of what it can do is convert video file formats. So you've got an AVI and with some weird codec, and you want to convert it to an MP4 that'll play on your phone. You can just do ffmpeg-i weird file.avi output to phone.mp4, and it'll figure it all out for you. But it does so much more. It's the back end for a lot of GUI applications. Like if you ever use Handbrake or VLC or MPlayer, it's also used by a lot of websites that do video. Like I know
Wait,
that.
did you just say MPlayer?
Yeah.
Wow, I'm having flashbacks to many, many years ago. That's impressive. I'm sorry I interrupted. Keep going.
No. Yeah. No, it's that's the thing. I used to use MPlayer all the time. It was like the best video player on the Mac for
it was.
But yeah, I mean, MPlayer, a cross-platform video player. Like, how do you do that? But like some of the ways that I use it is I use it to down convert HDR video to SDR for a while. Chrome didn't support HDR content, and so it looked all weird and blown out. And so you had to down convert it to like non-HDR. HDR is high dynamic range, where they kind of fake the exposure to make it look like it's better. Anyway, I also use it to quickly crop video. If if you shoot with a wide lens and you like, oh, actually the thing I care about is in the middle, like half of the video, you can just use it to crop the image, but keep it at 720p. I use it to recompress 4K down to 1080p because I don't want to spend the time to upload a 4K video to YouTube or whatever. I also use it to convert audio from any audio format, be it in a audio file or a video file, to a WAV file, which you can then use it with CircuitPython. I'll link a page of a bunch of cool ffmpeg commands in the show notes, because it's a great Swiss Army knife for doing any kind of AV thing. But if you do anything more complicated than just a simple file in, file out, the syntax for the command lines arguments to ffmpeg is crazy. So this person, Zach, his Twitter handle is Zach Overflow. He created this thing called ffmpeg.guide. It's a website that lets you visually create a flow of video and audio that ffmpeg will act upon. And so the output is a crazy long ffmpeg command line command you can just copy and paste, and what you see is a bunch of little nodes and flows between nodes, and then you type in parameters between the nodes and stuff like that. So if you think in a flows and nodes sort of way, it's like, oh, finally I can use that sort of thinking to design how I want my ffmpeg command to be. And so I'm just now trying to play with it. It's also complicated because it's recreating what ffmpeg can do. And so he's going to have a paid version if you want to do really complicated nodes and flows. But if you're just doing up to 5 nodes, which is quite a lot of functionality, it's just totally free. And so you go to ffmpeg.guide website and just try to use it. Also download ffmpeg anyway. It's totally awesome.
Yeah, I was playing around with it. It is a great no-code solution. I don't know any of the command line arguments to pass to ffmpeg, and I was able to, in just a couple of minutes, figure out, okay, if I drag this here and put this there, then it does it for me. It tells me exactly what I need to do.
Yeah. I'm wondering how much it'll replace my my ffmpeg.tips.txt that I've had in my home directory for like 10 years, because I can never remember how to do things.
Right. So what else have you been working on in the last couple of weeks?
I've been building more synthesizer bits. The trip to the Synthplex convention last week was very fun and also put me more in the mind of doing synthesizer things. I've been doing that. And then in a couple days, there's Hackaday SuperCon, which I'm going to because it's in Pasadena. It's like 2 miles away from my house. So I'm kind of required to go almost.
Yes, you are. And we expect to report back.
Yeah, it's been really hard to go to like big public gatherings because I've not been, like, Synthplex was the first one I've been to in like 3 years. And so I miss all these people that I really like to see on in real life that I don't really see in real life at SuperCon. So it'll be nice, but it's also like, oh, I don't know, bunch of people.
I'm right there with you. I'm on the fence about going to PyCon next year for that exact reason. I want to
Yeah.
go, but large crowds, and you got to
Yeah.
weigh those pros and cons.
Thankfully, there's a lot of big rooms and there's a bunch of outdoorness to the whole setup, and so I think it'll be good. But yeah, how about you? Anything you've been up to this week?
Released a new episode of the Circuit Python show, one that I'm particularly proud of. Speaking of
Oh yeah.
Circuit Python in the wild, I drove 2 hours east of the Twin Cities here in Minnesota to Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and visited with Jason Pecor, who was part of a team who built 3 Circuit Python powered trolls for kids to play on in a park. So it's a great episode. Check out circuitpythonshow.com. Check out the show notes. There's links to pictures. The YouTube version of the show has like the Ken Burns effect with the pictures. But it was a beautiful fall day that we were there, and it's a really neat installation.
Yeah, I saw some of the photos that you shared, and those really look cool. They're much bigger than when you said, "Oh, they're trolls." I was thinking like, but no, they're pretty large.
They're 5-foot tall trolls. Thank you for listening. For show notes, transcripts, and to support the show, visit thebootloader.net or follow us at The Bootloader. Until next time, stay positive.
Bye.